o'clock in Gardner, Kansas. Call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, welcome everyone in attendance. Okay, so we have no presentations, no public hearings. We'll move to public comments. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of the public hearing. If you wish to come forward, please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. There's a 5-minute time clock on your left. No profanity, no personal attacks. With that being said, come forward and state your name and address for the record. The podium is now open.
You're getting good at that.
Well, I was reading that one directly, so Steve had it memorized. So, no one coming forward. We'll move to consent agenda. Is there an item on the consent agenda like to be removed? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Deaton, second McNear. We approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Consent agenda passes. Planning and zoning.
Mayor,
Yes.
we are pulling the planning and zoning consent item and the committee recommendation item.
Okay.
Had some issues come up late today. We're going to pull them.
Oh, all right. So planning and zoning consent agenda item is pulled from this agenda, as well as committee recommendation number 1. So that moves us down pretty quick. No old business, new business. Consider selecting a president and vice president of the council. So I would open the floor to nominations for president.
I'd like to nominate Mark Baldwin for president.
Okay. All right. Motion Deaton, second McNear. Do we have any other nominations for president?
To make a motion to close nominations.
Okay. Do we need a second? Is that, what's the correct, I apologize, what's the correct?
You have to make a motion
Robert
to close
rules.
nominations and then
Okay. And then
second.
Okay, so we had motion Shoot, second Baldwin. Do we close nominations?
All in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Congratulations, Mark Baldwin.
Thank you.
Do we have a nomination for council vice president?
Nominate councilperson Deaton.
Second.
Okay. Nominated by McNear, seconded by Shoot. Any other nominations? Motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
Motion Deaton, second Baldwin. We close. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Councilmember Vice President Deaton.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right.
Do we have to switch now? Might be best.
You know, our name tags are up, and I've got a lot of stuff here.
Okay.
There we go. That's,
So you came to this position with baggage?
I do have a bag.
Okay, fair enough. All right, new business item number 2, consider authorizing the amendment of section 5.05 of the Gardner Municipal Code related to soliciting, hawkers, peddling, canvassing, and public auctions. Mr. Roberts, come forward, please. Sergeant Roberts.
Good evening. I apologize in advance, never done this before, so we're gonna wing this.
It's the best way.
Yeah. So in late August of this year, I took over the position as our administrative sergeant. One of those duties is to perform background checks on anyone applying for a solicitor license in the city of Gardner. While doing so, I inquired what the elements were that disqualified someone from receiving a solicitor's license. And I was provided with an old memorandum from Chief Francis days of what they sometimes went by, some of these items were not. So I immediately recognized that as something that we had to change. I believe every ordinance should be fair. It should be very transparent to our community. So I set forth in doing research to find out what would work best. In doing so, I learned that our current ordinance is extremely vague. It outlines that someone has to pay the prescribed fees. It says that if you're a grower of agriculture products, you don't have to have a license, and that you can't solicit after 5. That's it in a nutshell. The proposed ordinance that I wrote goes much more in depth. It outlines an entire section of what our licensing process is, what we require, also what would be exempt from, to include charitable organizations and agricultural organizations. It also says what's prohibited, outlining the hours from 8 to 5, which was pulled directly from our current ordinance. Talks about the other areas that you cannot solicit, and it also outlines what would disqualify you from a soliciting permit. Any questions?
All right, thank you. Sergeant, we will open it up to public comments. If anyone has any comments, I don't expect any. Council, do you have any questions or comments or concerns?
I had a couple.
Okay.
8 to 5. My concern, 8 a.m. is really early to be knocking on my door on a weekend. And then my concern is 8 to 5 is business hours. So if we are on Monday through Friday, I don't want somebody to be like, what's the point of getting this license? Nobody's going to be home, and then just go ahead and not get it anyway because they're going to knock on the door. I don't know. I don't want it to be too late, but I also don't want it to be so prohibitive that nobody bothers to go get a license. I don't know if there's any thoughts on different hours. I didn't have one. It was just something I thought of as I was reading it.
Well, I think the additional stuff that was in there, there's a bunch of different hours, so like 10 to 8, 10 to 10, they seemed awful late.
Yes.
I think there's
I don't
something
think the 10
in
a.m.,
Yeah.
but I think 8 might be a little too late. I was thinking maybe like 6 or 7,
Yeah.
but that was,
I think 7 would be too.
and like 10 a.m. is a start time. Just thinking out loud on that. And then, I was reading the definitions and I couldn't figure out where it fit. What about people on street corners or Walmart just sitting there with signs? Because it did talk about peddlers and it did talk about people not with a charitable organization doing something for themselves. They aren't going door to door. Are those people included in this ordinance or not?
Yes, if they're soliciting
Okay, so if I'm
monetary
sitting with
funds,
a
correct.
sign that says, please give me something, I am soliciting and I should go get a permit, and if they are doing that, it doesn't matter if they are on private property, say like a Walmart, or if they are on public property like a street corner.
As far as the act of soliciting, they can't do it on private or public property.
Okay.
Their presence on the property would be up to the property owner.
Okay, but if they are there with a sign, they should have a permit and should have gone to the police department first.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then my last question was the no soliciting signage. I know me and several other people just went door to door for several months, and the signage really varies. Some of it is, the legitimate, the no solicitation per statute. Some of it is cutesy painted signs. Some of them are right in the middle of the door. Some of them are kind of hidden in the landscape. What signage says no soliciting and you have to listen to it? Honestly, I know politicians are exempt from it. I tried to be respectful. Some of it was so hidden, I didn't see it until after I had knocked on somebody's door. So I didn't know if there's specific rules to that kind of signage.
Just the 2 words, no soliciting, are sufficient.
Okay.
We always tell citizens when they call in, they should first ask for a permit. We require anybody who has a permit to display it in their bright colors,
Yeah.
excuse me, and should be able to provide it, and to call us if they have any questions.
Okay. Those were my only questions.
So, I always nitpick these things. And so, to the other side of things, you can't be soliciting on private property, but that just meant the little kid with the lemonade stand is out.
Our current ordinance has no exemptions for anyone. If you follow our social media, we just got through a big blast because we posted our soliciting ordinance, and everybody said, well, what about Girl Scouts? This ordinance actually allows for charitable organizations.
That leads me to the next part of that.
Mhm.
It says may include without limitation. Who determines may?
I don't have an answer for that.
So, I mean, I know that part, I don't know if you exactly did, but it looked like it came from the Olathe one. And I'm just curious then, yeah, who determines in certain cases? Because I firmly believe most people in this town would not call somebody in for a Girl Scout at your door or a kid with a lemonade stand, right?
Mhm.
But the reason we have any of these is because somebody couldn't agree with somebody and called somebody in, ever, right? So I would hate for somebody to literally call in for a Girl Scout going to the door and they go, well, technically there is private gain there because they're getting a badge out of you, or they're helping somebody, or what, I mean, just about everything has some private gain in one way or another, right? And then the May, well, I decide it's not today. Well, tough luck, little kid. So I'm not trying to open it up to everybody, but at the same time, and I know it'd be difficult to add exceptions for every single nuance, I'm just thinking we need a way to define, if there's a May, what would entail the police department going, you know what, we're not gonna worry about that. Yeah. Okay, that's just not an issue that this town needs to worry about right now.
No, I totally agree. And actually, when I saw this, I was actually thinking about, okay, so every year the school district like has the kids going, they'll sell candy bars or
Candy
sell
bars or cards or.
the gift cards and stuff like that, and they go to door, and that's
Yeah, technically they would fall under this,
yeah.
but you're like, hopefully nobody calls them in. But you don't wanna have
You
an
never
ordinance
know.
that you're hoping and that people just are doing the right thing, because hence why we have ordinances.
Yeah, I don't wanna stop lemonade stands.
Or the kids fundraising.
So my comment would just be if there's some way that we can clarify what that would mean, how we determine, because that one section pretty much, it almost seems like the massive get out of jail free card, and then also the more you look at it, you're like, oh, nobody's included in that if you include some sort of private gain,
Sure.
right? So you're like, it's literally everywhere to nowhere. It looks good though. I mean, there's a lot of words.
Does this also include service offerings as well? Is service a product?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, should we look to maybe clean it up just a little bit
Clarify.
further before we bring it back?
I mean, we could probably put something in there about activities that are sanctioned by our school district. I mean, that would cover band and football, because I know there's sometimes that they have opportunities to travel, and they do fundraisers to try to pay for their travel, which would probably fall in that gray area.
Any fundraisers?
And then we have nonprofits are already in there, so we could do something that would limit it, or that would expand it by if it's sanctioned by our school district. But there's-
Or even if it said for either a nonprofit and takes out that section, or you added the specific allowance for where there's not the issue with the private gain, right? Because obviously, if you're soliciting to get money to go on a band trip, that's for private gain, right? But if it's okay by the school district, but I also don't want to limit it just to our school district. We have kids that don't live. Some kids that travel and go to private school outside of town, and now that you can go to any school district, and you've got your own school kids, and then you've got your Boy Scouts and your Girl Scouts and your so on. So something that reins that in. I'm sure you guys can come up with something.
Educational fundraisers or something like that.
Yeah, something to the benefit that's not obviously just going in their pocket for paying for their bills.
Would it be good to maybe just forward your concerns to make sure we get all of them? I mean, just so so
Sure.
like, so we have it specifically what we need, and then bring that back with the corrected,
Okay.
with an alternate.
I mean, we can look at the minutes unless there's something you haven't already talked about.
Well, I do have one other section.
Okay, go ahead.
But yes. Okay, so the license required, I think it's overly restrictive. So I feel like the information should be applicable to getting that background check.
Mm-hmm.
So name, date of birth, physical description, address, okay, that's basically for the background check,
Mhm.
right? Obviously, we don't need all of that for 6-year-old brownies in a troop, right?
But they don't have to get a license.
Well, right now they do.
Right now, I do.
Yep. Right now they do. And then it says, following that too, number 2, it's driver's license number and social security number. Well, they don't have driver's license. It doesn't say if you don't have one that you don't have to provide it. It says driver's license number and social security, which means both, not either or. So I think that should be an either or anyway. 3 is fine. I don't know why we care about number 4. I assume it has to do with, what they're selling, but that's really covered in 3. And if you're doing it as a side hustle, where I'm employed has nothing to do with me selling oranges in the evening, right? So I don't think 4 is necessary. 5 is appropriate. I think 6, 7, 8 are all extra that either we should already be keeping track of or the background check will report. And furthermore, we shouldn't trust somebody to tell us those details. Right?
But I think we owe someone the opportunity to be upfront and honest to begin with.
But why do we care? What do we care if somebody was arrested before? 20 years ago, a guy got into a fight with somebody, but now he's selling stuff. Hasn't ever done anything. Model citizen. Nobody knows him, but anything different than that. But he got arrested once before. Why do we care?
We're speaking to the integrity of the person that's applying. This is somebody that's going to come knock on your door or your parents' door, and we just want to make sure that everyone's safe. I see this from 2 different vantage points. Obviously, the police captain in me sees it from one vantage point, but I'm also a citizen at Gardner. So I'm thinking about when my young son's at home and somebody knocks on the door, I want to make sure he's safe if we were to answer it. So that's where as much information as we can gather, I believe is important, because we can have a better sound understanding of the kind of people that are going to be knocking on our doors and trying to contact our families.
I don't disagree with that, but I guess in number 1 of section F, the second section, it shall be unlawful for any person to solicit who has, right, been convicted of a felony, misdemeanor, ordinance violation, right? And we're going to go into details of those people that you don't want at the door, right? Violent criminals, fraud, deceit, right? Trying to sell you a scam artist, right? Well, since that's already there, and we're going to do the background check, why do I care about anything else?
We are limited, based on a solicitor's permit alone, on what level of intrusion we can have on someone's history. I can't run the same background check on a solicitor that I can for somebody who's been arrested, or even somebody who is coming to the station to pick up a gun. We could be more intrusive on their history than we can on someone just applying for a permit. CDIS rules don't allow for that.
Okay. that's
So
really
self-disclosure, I guess, is what we're looking for. If we can't find, that previous conviction or whatever, I'm sorry, if we can, if they self-disclose, that helps us. These are also rules that they have access to, so they're gonna know beforehand. And that was my goal, is somebody could go onto our website and see our ordinance and see, I should even go there and apply because this is gonna disqualify me.
I know, but we have felons that apply for the police department, so.
You were correct, you were correct.
Okay. I can.
I had a couple of quick questions. Sure. Sorry. What about people that I get knocks on my door from time to time? Guys in the neighborhood, maybe exterminators, tree service people. They're doing work in the neighborhood and they're just prospecting around jobs. And this seems like that would apply to them. So are we going to require that of everybody that's out doing services for their as a homeowner and making them sign up to do this to go and prospect for additional business?
Are you talking about a company coming to your door
Yeah.
saying we're in the neighborhood?
For example, a tree service company, cutting your neighbor's trees down, they're knocking the doors, 10 houses around the job they're in, just see if they can pick anything else up. This apply to those people as well?
That is the majority of our current solicitor's permits are people looking to do home improvement tasks and whatnot. It's not as much selling goods as it is selling a service. So it all applies.
Well, it just seems like it's a little, almost to a little bit of an anti-business type of a thing where people, where companies are in the business of providing home-related services. Where, if we put this in place, somebody could go down to the police department and say, hey, they're knocking on doors in our neighborhood without a permit. And all that the guy's trying to do is, I don't know.
So what some of them do is put a sign, like if they're doing work at my house, they could put a sign in my yard and then my neighbors could call them. But if somebody's gonna knock on our citizens' doors, it's nice to know that they've had a background check and that they're safe people to be knocking on my door. And I would concern if we let them out of this exemption, then they would start lying about, oh yeah, I did your neighbor's house. And maybe they didn't do the neighbor's house. Maybe they're just telling me that so I don't ask them about their permit.
Well, devil's advocate, anybody could lie and say that they did your neighbor 2 months ago and they never did anything ever in this town,
100%.
right?
Yep.
And also, I think we put too much credence into a background check. So it just means I either haven't been caught yet, or the system hasn't found me yet,
That's
right?
fair.
So, not saying it's a bad thing to do, but it's not this. Oh, this guy's gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he had a
Because-
background check. Come on.
Because
But I think it's-
everybody gets caught for the first time.
But it's something.
I get it.
I mean,
It is something. I'm not saying take it out. I'm just
It
saying
can't be 100%.
it can't be guaranteed. Oh, just because somebody went through this and got a permit, that they're also your best friend.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Okay.
So again, should we forward any additional questions or concerns as they come up? And then otherwise, we can kind of just work with what we have so far and then come back with one more. Would this be tabled then, this item?
Motion.
So I move to table this item until the next council meeting?
Second.
Is that enough time?
Yep, we can get done.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Motion.
So motion, was it Dean? Yep, second Baldwin? Then we tabled,
Yeah, I can second.
sorry.
Yeah,
I thought it was
I
Steve.
second.
Sorry. We table this
Oh, you
motion,
forgot.
new business item number 3 to the next council meeting. All in favor?
New business, new
Aye.
business,
Aye.
point of order. It's new business item number 2, not 3.
I apologize. New business item number
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? It will be tabled. Thank you for the dialogue. It's good. New business item number 3, consider adopting an ordinance fixing certain standards of conduct for persons within the city making violation of any such standards of public offense, subject to penalty, incorporating by reference the Uniform Public Offense Code for the Kansas City's edition of 2023, with additions, deletions, and amendments set forth therein. Amy Foster, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I come before you this evening to ask you to consider adopting an ordinance incorporating the Uniform Public Offense Code ordinance for Kansas City's edition of 2023 with additions, deletions, and amendments as noted. So this is our annual UPOC. And so this year, the most notable changes are the addition of battery against healthcare providers while performing their job duties, a provision making all law enforcement of this state and any political subdivision exempt from the offense of unlawful restraint and acts done in the performance of duty. Prior to that, it was just city law enforcement that were in the UPOC. And then the purchase of possession of cigarettes or tobacco products by a minor, they did raise that to 21. We actually came to you earlier in the year and did an amendment for that. They've actually made that an official part of the UPOC, so that's included in this official UPOC now. And then Gardner also routinely adds provisions for criminal littering, riding or leading horses upon the Gardner golf course, disturbing the peace, unlawful juvenile activity, urination or defecation in public, explosives, storage of explosives, transportation or storage of nitroglycerin, discharge and sale of fireworks, firework permit applications, requirements, inspections, violations, and penalties, picture devices showing sex movies and eating or drinking establishments featuring nude dancers or similar entertainment. This ordinance also adds 9.9.7 subsection A, possession of marijuana penalties, and subsection B, use or possession of controlled substances, simulated controlled substances, and drug paraphernalia penalties. And then also consistent with last year's amendments, upon the recommendation of Judge Lewis, the city will omit section 4.5, buying sexual relations, and section 4.5.1, unlawful use of a communications facility, as these offenses will be charged under the jurisdiction of Johnson County District Court. And Gardner also routinely deletes section 10.13, which states that barbed wire fences are illegal. So we do allow barbed wire in some areas of Gardner. And the adoption of this ordinance will also update all references to the 2023 edition of the UPOC, and then updating all statute numbers to stay in line with the UPOC numbering system. And it will incorporate all of the said provisions. And so I would ask that you consider adopting the proposed ordinance incorporating the Uniform Public Offense Code for Kansas City's edition of 2023 with additions, deletions, and amendments as noted.
Thank you, Amy. Do we have any public comments on new business item number 3? Council, what questions do you have?
I've been over this one before. I
all
think there's
been.
always sections of it that I think are, again, overly strict. I understand why they're there, but, you know, blenders, bowls, containers, spoons for mixing devices. Yeah, I'm guilty of drug paraphernalia then. Just because I don't have drugs doesn't mean that it isn't there. You know, hypodermic needles for all sorts of people. I mean, just stuff like that. I understand why it's there, because if somebody is in the drug business usage case, that those things are typically found, but I've just always thought they were overly strict in what we list here. We can leave them to them. So it's not a hill I'm going to die on.
It does say intended for use.
I know, but
You know.
define intended for use. Right? I'm innocent till proven guilty, and I tell you I don't plan to use it for that. But you're still going to collect my drug paraphernalia and take me to court.
No, it would have to be in combination, depends on the context.
Yeah.
If they're stirring a crack thing with a wooden spoon, then that would qualify.
I'm just thinking more
You're
of
sure your
somebody calls somebody in, you know, to basically swat them type thing, you know, get them for something else. Right.
Yeah, that in and of itself, those items would not be considered.
You can drive around with your spoons. You're solid.
I'll do that.
In your blender, in your car.
You know what? He can only have one hand on the wheel.
Are there any other questions or comments? No. Do we have a motion for new business item number 3?
So moved.
Second.
Motion shoot, second D. That we adopt ordinance number 2788, an ordinance fixing certain standards of conduct for persons within the city of Gardner, Kansas, making violation of any such standards a public offense, subject to penalty, incorporating by reference the Uniform Public Offense Code for Kansas City's edition of 2023, and all acts supplementary and amendatory thereto, prepared and published in the booklet formed by the League of Kansas Municipalities, and repealing all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, under the provisions of KSA 12-3009 through 12-3012 and KSA 12-3301 and 12-3302. City Clerk.
Councilmember Shute,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Ween,
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton,
Yes.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
New business item number, or ordinance number 2788 passes. Thank you, Amy. I think you have to stay up here for a couple more. New business item number 4, consider adopting an ordinance regulating traffic on the streets, alleys, and highways of the city of Gardner, Kansas, incorporating by reference the standard traffic ordinance for Kansas City's edition of 2023, with additions and amendments as noted.
Okay, so with the UPOC, next is the standard traffic ordinance, also an annual event. And so I come before you to ask you to pass the standard traffic ordinance for Kansas City's edition of 2023 with the additions and amendments as noted. The most noted changes to the standard traffic ordinance for Kansas City's 2023 actually had few changes this year. However, we are requesting the addition of a violation for not updating your driver's license with name changes and address changes within 10 days of a change. With that, if that violation is written, it would just be a court date to try to get people to get that information updated and then be dismissible upon getting that taken care of. And then adding specific provisions for electric assisted scooters. Our current STO addresses electric bicycles, skateboards, but not a lot of specific things for scooters, and we're seeing more electric scooters. One of the things that was brought to my attention was we're seeing a lot of electric scooters without lights, and so officers have seen a lot of that after hours when it's dark and no lights, and so this will allow for them to address that. And so those provisions have been written into the ordinance. And so those were the biggest things. Everything else was mostly housekeeping. And then we routinely have added provisions for careless driving, penalties for driving under the influence of intoxicating liquor or drugs to include third convictions, vehicle idling, parking restrictions, prohibiting the use of any compression release engine braking system, and establishing maximum speed limits for streets and parks within the city, and has incorporated such provisions within the proposed ordinance. The adoption of this ordinance also takes care of the housekeeping of updating all year references to 2023 and repealing past ordinances and keeping statute numbers in line with state numbering. I would ask that the council please consider adopting the proposed ordinance incorporating the standard traffic ordinance for Kansas City's edition 2023 with the additions and amendments as noted.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Any public comment? Council questions?
Is there the 10 days on the name change? That seems really short if I get married and go on a honeymoon. Just throwing that out there.
I mean, it's already handled by other cases, other laws. You already have to do it. So why are we adding it at all?
Because there's nothing actually wrote that allows them to cite someone. So there's really actually no regulatory that actually makes it a violation. And so you can do it online. And so that's where the 10 days, it is actually fairly easy. So once you have your marriage license, for that example, you can go online, upload that document, and do that, and have the certificate that makes it valid. And so the standard practice that we have seen across other municipalities has been the 10 days.
The last time I changed my name, I had 2 notaries, concealed carry, driver's license, and my cosmetology. I thought I had 30 days on most of those items. I didn't know if that's something for
How does this help the officers?
So to make it so that the ID is valid, so right now we use DigiTicket, so it's an electronic citation, and so when they scan that in, if there's a change to that, it's not considered valid if that ID doesn't match everything on their record, is the way I understand it. And so when they do that, it doesn't come up with all of that. It's considered an alias if that name doesn't match their records. Can I refer? Is that correct? That
Yes. So right now you can change your name online, and you don't get an actual hard copy. You get you print your printed copy, and then you are supposed to keep the printed copy with your hard copy to make it valid.
But someone who just got married, that changes their name, can do that now with a copy of their marriage certificate for the next 5 years until I renew my driver's license, because I just renewed it. So why would I want to go through the hassle of changing it when I can just print a copy of my marriage certificate and move on for the next 5 years?
Then your driver's license isn't valid.
It is with that marriage certificate that says that that is me. I mean, that's how it is today, right?
So by having a driver's license, yeah, part of the responsibility of having a driver's license is that it's up to date. So when you move, you are, by law, you are supposed to update your license according to state law. And so when they run that, and like with a name change, that becomes an alias if it doesn't match what's on your driver's license. And so it makes it what they consider as an invalid license. However, the STO does not address writing a citation for an invalid driver's license. We can write for one that has been suspended.
Or expired.
What's that?
Or expired.
Or expired, but not for an invalid because of a name or an address. But yet, by state law, it is considered invalid. And it's easy to change. And so it's just trying to get people to address that and get it changed.
So is there no enforcement mechanism in the state law? It's left up to the local municipality?
State criminal act, I'm uncertain.
Can you speak to that, Chief? Do you know?
So there are no traffic tickets on the state law to write, like, we are not able to write a traffic ticket for a state law violation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So no, there is no way for us to enforce, if you don't change your driver's license for your name or your address. So both of those have to be done by law. But as city, where our jurisdiction is the city, we don't have a way to enforce it if there is not a city code.
So does the highway patrol have a similar ordinance, or did they enforce the state statutes? Does the state statute have the same provisions as what we're proposing?
They can enforce the state statute, but so what we went off of other municipalities such as Overland Park, Olathe, Lenexa, and so that way, and again, it was to be used as a tool to get people to try to do that. Our prosecutors supported writing it in with the ability of bring us the proof, the document online that you went in, you made the change, here's the piece of paper that shows that you updated your driver's license, tickets dismissed, no court costs, no fines, just as a tool to get people to update their driver's license information.
That seems like it's really, that's,
I guess I just don't know if the gain is worth it, though, because if there's no fine, we're not making anything off of it. No court cost, that's great. We don't want to charge somebody for this. And at the same time, they now have to probably take off work to go to court so that they can get this gone when it wasn't an issue before, but today it is. And it doesn't really benefit us that much. Yes, it's an alias, I get it, but what is it that we're getting out of it from the police department standpoint that will actually make something show up and go, oh, that's what I needed to know? I mean, I'm open to that. I get that it's not legit, it's invalid, I understand that. But how does it help us to impose this?
Well, I guess I would, I guess I would think that it's not like you're gonna get pulled over for this.
No.
There's gonna have to be something else that happens
It's a
in order
secondary.
for this to happen. And then to prove 10 days is sort of nebulous in my opinion. Cause hey, I moved, but, oh yeah, I only moved yesterday. So I could see that you're gonna get out. I guess it's helping our enforcement officers to actually get to the other portion of whatever they're going after, and finding out where those people, who they are, where they live, that actual portion. I
But
guess.
when you got pulled over, they pulled you over for that thing, they can deal with all that regardless of,
Well, first of all, I don't get pulled over.
well, fair enough. But the rest of that can still be handled.
Yeah,
And to your point about the nebulous of the 10 days, how do we enforce the 10 days? How do you prove that you're out of day 11?
So what they would do is if your driver's license comes back and it isn't valid because of that name change or address, and the citation is written. And so then once they have the court date, and say, again, most generally they're not getting pulled over for that because you wouldn't know that. And so they're going to have a court date anyway. So then they would just have to bring that proof with them or provide that via email to the court before that court date, which is within 30 days usually is where we're at now on court ticket dates. So they would provide that proof and then that ticket would be dismissed. So the 10 days would actually become closer to 30, but the 10 days would be from the date of the name change, or that is what the law states that they have to have it changed by. We would be issuing the ticket that it wasn't done. And so we would be giving them until their court date to get it done, is really what they would have then to prove to get it dismissed.
Amy, did you say then they don't have to appear in court, they can email the?
Yep, they would be able to provide us the proof that it was done for that citation. Now, depending what if they were given other citations,
Sure,
they may have to. So I don't want to say they wouldn't have to appear in court, but for that specific violation, they could provide proof of that, and then that would just be dismissed.
So it sounds like, and I get the value of it. I get that they need to change their licenses, but it also sounds like we have to put this in so that the city can enforce state law.
Yes.
That's really what it comes down to, and that's the reason why it's in the code now. Because we have to have the tool to enforce a state law violation. And without that tool, then we can't.
Then we cannot. Yes, we would
That's
not
really
write
what
that
it comes down to.
citation.
Agreed. So I guess to a month ago,
Yep.
Right.
that we can't enforce it, and we're not enforcing it, what benefit do we have of adding something to the court docket by enforcing the state law that obviously nobody follows?
Well, people follow it.
Well, all these people that we're talking about.
So it helps have a better database. So once they're in the system, you have more up-to-date records of the individuals. So that is a nationwide database as well. And so I guess you're helping people be more compliant with the rules. And so even though we may not personally benefit, our records are going to be more up to date. And so if they have other citations and we're serving other documents in that, it might be easier to locate them by having more up to date records.
I have a question on what you said earlier. So I get pulled over for speeding, which would never happen. You scan my driver's license. Let's take name change out of it. How does the state know that I've moved?
So if you have other records that are with the state and it would come back, yes. So depending what other documents the state would have for what that would go to. Driving License Bureau most generally, so.
Yeah, typically when you do a change of address form with the USPS, that does get reported to the state.
Yeah.
And it also gets
So
reported
I
to
don't
the
know
state
what
of
all they
your new
use that
residency
against,
as well.
so.
I had two questions. One is, how are we going to make it, let our citizens know that they now have to have their driver's license changed in 10 days, or they can be written up, by the police department for that? That's question number one. It seems kind of, how do we let people know that after 10 days, you're gonna be in violation? And then the second question is, just more of a, how do you go about getting that change? You have to go to the DMV and stand in line during the day, and get your picture taken and get all this stuff, and then bring proof of your change of address. I'm thinking back to the last time my wife went to get the national ID, and they said our marriage license wasn't valid until 1980 because it had changed a little bit over the years. I mean, she had a heck of a time getting that proven.
So actually, it's actually doable online now for those documents. Now, you don't get a new driver's license, you actually get one of the printed forms now.
But are you gonna have to carry that with you as
Yes,
well then?
yes, you would. Yes.
Until you get a new license, yeah.
Until you get a new license. So you could go in and get a new license, but if you choose not to do that, then you would print out the new form with the changes and carry that with your license.
I'm not as against it as Mark is. I would rather see 30 days to 10 days. I know that you can do it online, but you just got married, you just went on your 2-week honeymoon, you're done. I mean, like, you're already in violation.
I'm
That's
more in favor of the 30 days as well. I mean, I voted pass. I don't see the need for us to enforce this state law. If they cared about it that much, they can come up with something themselves. And you know what? It would, to be honest, it'd be nice for somebody to have their little house in the back of their truck and be able to get lost and drive wherever they want. Nobody know where they. You know what? There's too much of people knowing everything about everybody about all
As
the
soon
time.
as she said database, I knew your head was.
I mean, they already have the
He's the
information,
database
and
guy.
if I print out my marriage certificate or I say, here's my new address, we're good. I mean, officers ask you that. Is this your current address? No, it's not. Here's my new address, and they write it down. I don't need to go spend time and whatever it is, $16 to go get a new license every time I change apartments.
You're not required to get a new license, you're required to notify the DMV of your new
And
address.
then you carry a piece of paper, so you don't have a new license, you just have to have a piece of paper with your license.
That seems problem for a lot of people.
Well-
I think that'd be a little
Could you pull
problematic.
up state statute 8-248 real quick, just to make sure, sorry. Because that's the state statute, and I can't remember if it specifically states the 10 days. I just wanted to be sure,
So
to
we
s-
would be in compliance with the state law.
right, to
If
see
the
if
state
we
law
could
says
add
10
the
days.
30.
We can make
Just
comply
to
with
see.
state law by not enforcing anything.
Right.
That's not our job to enforce it. It's their state law. We don't have to enforce squat.
But what they're saying is we might not be able to make it 30 days because of the fact that it
That
says
too.
10 days on the state statute.
Just don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Just
You
remove,
just don't have it in.
just
Oh,
remove
well.
it
Yeah,
like it was before.
exactly.
And if we are going on more of education than citation, then, hey, you're out of compliance with the state law, make sure to go get your driver's license updated. By the way, you can do it online.
Yeah, we could do that
Yeah, we
campaign
should-
regardless.
that-
That's
That
easy.
seems reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean,
Without having to add the addition of a citation to change it.
We're creating a lot more work for it, seems like.
What did you want?
we're doing something for nothing.
And if we already have
If
an
it
overloaded
clearly
court
stated
docket, I know we
Yes.
had to add extra days and stuff, this just seems like an extra thing.
Does there seem to be consensus?
Would there need to be a motion to remove that section from the ordinance?
Well,
Well, when we pass it, yeah.
Pass it without that.
Pass it without it? Yeah, that's what I said. Yep.
all right, I think there's consensus to
Is she
take
still
that out.
looking up the state statute?
It says 10 days.
Okay.
Yes, it's 10 days. So I would say if we don't want to have the 10 days, then we just don't have it in the ordinance.
Yes.
And then I would encourage education, don't forget, and PS, I didn't know you could do it online. And have I moved in the last 4 years, so 5 years. And I went to the DMV and got it all changed. So I'm glad I now know that you can do it online. So I think education is fantastic. Like, hey, you've got to do this and you can do it online. I would
Maybe
encourage
I
throw
think that
that,
would be great. Thank you. Good
maybe throw that on our online, on our website or on Inside Gardner. Just a little blurb somewhere
If you've
saying
already pulled
that.
them over and in this scenario would have had a citation, educate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, we can strike that.
Remove
Art.
section I.
Section I, subsection I, yeah.
So, do I have a motion for new business item number 4?
Smooth.
Second.
Motion followed and seconded. We adopt ordinance number 2789, An ordinance regulating traffic upon the streets, alleys, and highways of the city of Gardner, Kansas, incorporating by reference the standard traffic ordinance for Kansas City's edition of 2023, and all acts supplementary and mandatory thereto prepared and published in booklet form by the League of Kansas Municipalities. Should I read the whole thing and then just
Certain chapters of, as a, yeah, that's fine.
With certain deletions, omissions, changes, and additions, prescribing additional regulations and repealing ordinance number 2761 under the provisions of KSA 12-3009 through 12-3012 and KSA 12-3301 and 12-3302 as amended.
That's it?
Okay. City Clerk.
Councilmember Shute,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton,
Yes.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2789 as amended passes. All right. One more for you.
All right, okay.
New business item number 5, consider adopting an ordinance amending chapter 13.40 of the Gardner Municipal Code relating to wastewater rates.
Oh, we know where you stand on this one.
So, okay. So good evening.
Good evening, Amy.
So my other hat, utility billing. So I am coming before you to see about the ordinance revising chapter 13, section 40 of the Gardner Municipal Code pertaining to a 4.2 increase in the wastewater rates. The 4.2 rate increase was part of the 2024 budget discussions. As needed to continue to build financial capacity in the wastewater fund to support an expansion of the Kill Creek Resource Recovery Facility and sewer conveyance system improvements. The 2024 budget was adopted on September 5th, 2023, so now we need to pass the ordinance to be able to move forward with the rate increase. The average residential customer utility increase would be $2.50 per month for 5,000 gallons of wastewater. The average commercial customer will increase $8.20 per month for 20,000 gallons of wastewater. The residential customers would still set a wastewater average during the billing months of December, January, February, and March, with the highest usage being removed to create a cap during the peak watering seasons. Commercial customers still water equals sewer usage all 12 months of the year. The proposed rate changes would take effect in January of 2024, appearing on the February 2024 billing. The 4.2% rate increase was originally discussed as part of the 2023 budget as a multi-year plan for rate changes annually until 2031. We do plan to bring back a multi-year plan at a later date, but wanted to do some more research as the plant expansion details come forth more. So I would ask that the governing body consider adopting an ordinance revising Chapter 13, Section 40 of the Gardner Municipal Code pertaining to a 4.2% rate increase in wastewater rates.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any public comment? Council.
Everybody's looking at Mark.
I know this is part of the plan, so.
I have a question. I know that we're increasing the wastewater rates and we're also increasing the water rates on an annual basis going forward. Are we still subsidizing the wastewater fund from the water fund now? So they are now self-sufficient, self-standing. Because it used to be that we were doing that, but this is going to keep us from having to do that now in the future. Okay.
We're gonna have to have a multi. Right now, that's correct. There is no subsidy between the water and wastewater fund utilities.
Okay.
Going forward, as we have capital improvements for the sewer, we'll have to have probably a multi-year rate structure in order to afford that.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because I know that we did that with the water side, but I don't think we completely addressed that with the wastewater side.
No, No, I intentionally did not do that. I described it in the budget book,
Yeah.
but we're not bringing that forward for formal approval because right now we have a lot of engineering estimates that are pretty preliminary. We need to have some more design work done, through the costs. So.
Okay. All right. I'm looking forward to that when we get there.
Any other council comment, questions?
Mhm.
Okay. Do we have a motion for new business item number 5?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Shute, second Deaton. We adopt ordinance number 2790, an ordinance of the city of Gardner, Kansas, amending chapter 13.40 of the Gardner Municipal Code relating to wastewater rates. City clerk.
Councilmember Shute,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Ween,
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton,
Yes.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2790 passes. Thank you. New business item number 5, consider adopting a resolution describing the corporate limits and boundaries of the city.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Kansas statute requires that each year we file a revised corporate limits description in the end of any year that the limits have changed. In 2023, the council, through ordinances, annexed several plots of land into the city. This resolution brings those into the overall corporate limits and boundaries resolution for the city. Staff recommends the city council adopt this resolution that describes the updated corporate limits.
I don't expect any public comment on this, but
Housekeeping.
housekeeping. Council, any questions or comments?
What's
Did
to
you-
stay safe we don't do this?
Well, you did read through all of this, right, Mark?
Yeah.
Yes.
Zero degrees on paragraph 6. All right, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Deaton, second Shute. We adopt resolution number 2133, a resolution describing the corporate limits and boundaries of the city of Gardner, Johnson County, Kansas, a city of the second class. City clerk?
Councilmember Shute,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Ween,
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton,
Yes.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Resolution number 2133 passes. Thank you. Kellen, you got off easy on that one. Why don't we start with you then? Do you have any council updates?
I do not.
Okay. Dave?
Just quickly, so that everybody's aware, typically Plan Commission meets on the 4th Monday of every month. We are meeting tomorrow night, not the 4th Monday, but we will be meeting tomorrow night here in these chambers at 7 p.m. So that way the public is aware of that, and you are as well.
Sure, they'll be happy that you guys aren't meeting on Christmas Day. So, yeah.
Jason?
Nothing tonight.
Chief Waldeck?
I don't have any updates tonight.
Thanks, Chief.
City clerk?
No updates.
Finance, Matt?
Nothing tonight.
Mr. Fillen, Mr. Dirt.
How did you do his last name? Mr. Filling?
Nothing tonight? City Administrator?
A couple weeks ago, we met at Ground House with KDOT. They did their public meeting on the Moonlight Bridge. There was some discussion about the alignment of the bridge. So we could work through that. We invited KDOT to come to this meeting and try to develop a consensus with the council, but they reminded us that this is not a Gardner project. So they will take the comments they received at that meeting into consideration, but we really have no say over how they're going to route through the county and the land. We also wanted to address the potential for a interchange there. So they did design the project so that in the future, at some point, we could put an interchange there. But I want to remind everybody that we do not have control of the land around the potential interchange. So that would not be something we would do in the near term, because if we pay for an interchange there, we would have no control over the land use around that interchange.
So annex it first.
I wanted to kind of put that out in public, that because there was some discussion about, yeah, we're definitely doing it, and we're gonna have an interchange there, and that is not the case. That's something we'll evaluate later once we get control of interchange there, and they put commercial truck uses there, because it'd be within 1 mile of the national network, we would have no control over that, over any part of that road, so I want to put that out there. And then on the EDC, the executive board has talked several times for the last few weeks since we talked about that in the executive session. We're trying to close that up. So far, we have a $23,000 deficit for the EDC for the year with no additional income. Apparently, the way that they handle their accounting, because funds come in the first month of every quarter, those are going to roll over the first quarter to get paid. So because the city of Gardner and New Century Air Center are the people represented, we will, I believe it's our responsibility to share in that cost to close out the books. We won't know probably for another week whether that's going to be the final number. The estimate's between 25 and 30,000. So I reached out to Brian Johnson here, where he's on vacation, but we're going to have that discussion, see what the county's willing to do. There really are no other funding sources to close out the books. And they are legitimate expenses that have come in EDC for work that's already been done. There is no additional payroll on there. So because all the employees have either resigned or, well, they were all, because we shut down, they were all let go, or there wasn't anywhere to work. So I will likely come back to the council the first meeting in January with a proposal to use transient guest tax to pay for whatever portion that we're going to be responsible for. So I want to give everybody a heads up on that.
Thanks, Jim. Okay. Councilmember McNair.
Nothing.
That's tonight. Councilmember Ween.
Happy holidays.
That's all I have. All right, thank you. Councilmember Shute.
I'm good. I'm good.
Council Vice President Deaton.
I'm good tonight, thank you.
Council President.
I just wanted to thank Chief Waldeck. There was some questions and concerns about the encryption happening with the Johnson County radios for the Sheriff's Department and other cities. And I asked several questions. She gave me great answers. And I think other people also asked her and seemed to be quite responsive. So thank you very much.
Yes,
And
thank you.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yes.
All right, and I've got nothing, so I hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Deaton, second Baldwin, we adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? We're adjourned.